Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mr. Darling, and I'm out here on another beautiful March day. I don't know why it's already spring here in Vegas, but it is. And I know some of you would like me to sit in a room to make this content because it's a lot more personable, but it's easier for me to get my shit off just walking and talking. I have to exercise anyway, so I might as well get it done. How you doing? Might as well get it done while I'm out and about, you know what I mean? So, and plus there's a lot of stuff I want to talk about. And a lot of times when I'm sitting in a room, I sometimes feel so stilted and I don't meander as much as I should on some of my thoughts. I don't let some of my thoughts marinate enough. And one of those thoughts today I had was about the school system. Why do we send our kids to school in 2026? At this point, why are kids going to school? And I'm not sitting up here being anti-education. I'm saying that kids don't need to learn reading, writing, arithmetic, things like that. It's not what I'm saying. But generally, when I think back to when I went to school, I remember them telling us that we wouldn't always have calculators on us. You wouldn't always have a calculator at your disposal to do math, but they had no idea that the technology would permit that, would facilitate that. So they said you have to learn certain things in math because, like you said, you weren't gonna always have that tool, but my entire adult life, we've had calculators in our pockets. Fast forward to now, kids can barely pay attention because they're reared, meaning they're brought up on screen time. From the time that they're little, you hand them a phone or a game system. I know with our oldest kid, when he was little, he was a very rambunctious little boy. So in order for him to quell some of that energy, we bought him a Nintendo DS with Sonic the Hedgehog. And that game and that system captured his attention forever, okay? And from that point on, obviously, he graduated to the phones and other more adult devices that captured his time. Just like us, we're captured on our phones by these devices, which I personally feel have been a detriment to human society, but that's neither here nor there. But these kids sitting in class, they can barely pay attention to the lessons, the reading, writing, and arithmetic, the basic lessons that we learn. And a lot of teachers are complaining about that. They're complaining that these kids, it's hard for them to pay attention. It's hard for them to take initiative. It's hard for them to be engaged. And why is that? Because they're overstimulated by these devices. In their head, they already know, why do I need to do this when there's going to always be a spell check and a calculator there to answer my questions or to do the math for me? You understand? This is the world they grew up in. Most of us didn't grow up in that world, so it's easy for us to look down on them and say, y'all kids are dumb, but not necessarily. It's just that they were brought up differently on devices and technology. But like I say, fast forward to now, you have AI. And nobody could even prepare Generation Z for how fast AI will become a thing and start taking over. They were telling Generation Z when they were in middle school, high school, learn the code, learn the code. You gotta learn the code. If you learn the code, you're guaranteed to have a good job. You're guaranteed to have this, this, and that. But now they're telling these people that, no, we don't need coders no more. So you had a whole generation of young people trying to get into tech, and their jobs are being supplanted by a machine that even their professors and the people that taught them about the future or what they were supposed to be prepared for couldn't have imagined would come to fruition. You understand? Technology has outpaced education. And a lot of us were brought up to be workers, right? Like, that's why we went to school, to be workers, to learn how to fucking be on the schedule, to clock in, to follow orders, right? But now they don't need the worker. They don't need you to take initiative. They don't need you to have a brain. They just need you to be a body for when they need you to be a body, right? And they need you to die when they need you to die. So for these younger kids, they don't need them to have a brain. They just need them to obey and to follow orders. That's it, right? So the dumbing down is deliberate, but what is school teaching these kids now that technology is outpacing education? What can school offer them? For our kids, we took our kids out of school. Well, at least my kids' mom took our kids out of school and started homeschooling them when my oldest was 16. And this is because there was a shooting at his school and we had agreed, nah, you know what? We don't need to be going through that. And we had taught them a lot. My kids have a lot of common sense and all that. However, on the social level, social-wise, they didn't grow up around other people. They didn't grow up around being challenged and by their peers and their contemporaries. They didn't grow up going to high school. My daughter just graduated high school through homeschooling. She's a smart, brilliant young lady. But I was thinking as she graduated, what is the future for her right now? right? She's out of school, but they're telling these people that, they're telling these young people that within the next 2 or 3 years, 50% of all tech jobs, all modern jobs are going to be supplanted by this AI system. So what can she prepare for? What does she want to do, right? And obviously there's jobs like veterinarian, there's different skills that you always need, doctors and certain things like that. But even at some point, those people will be supplanted too. Medical billing, anything clerical, anything dealing with, you know, filing away paperwork, getting scripts together, stuff like that will become a thing of the past because there will be a computer that can do it all for us. So what are we preparing them for? What are they going to school for? Why are we sending them to school? Why are we sending them to school? What are they going to these state-run schools for? Where it's creating a lot of, because a lot of people say, well, they have to go because they have to get that social aspect. Like I just said, my kids didn't get a lot of that. They were around each other and their cousins, that's it. But how can they get that social aspect if they're not there? But that social aspect, obviously, if you look at some of these young people, tears away at their psyche. And by the time that they're older, they don't even know who the fuck they are or what they are. You know what I'm saying? Because school has fucked them up because of bullies, because of not being able to meet expectations, lofty expectations that the state put on them, certain exams that they feel like, oh man, I'm matching up to my contemporaries. Competition young instead of, because what they're, like I said, what they were taught, the system that we grew up in, the school system that was developed throughout the 20th century was developed to make us workers, right? They don't need them to be workers no more. We don't need workers. We don't. We just need, like I say, bodies to throw whatever campaign that they feel is necessary in the moment. Right now, it's Iran, right? Jobs are scarce, okay? Innovation is limited as far as like being able to get in on the ground floor and have some type of like foothold on the world of tomorrow, because none of us know what it's going to become. So it's easy to sit there and say, well, join the military, sign up and help Uncle Sam do his duty, right? And that's what a lot of people will do. And that's why I said they're gonna get a lot of people to go. They're gonna get a lot of people, they're gonna convince a lot of people to go over there and fight, because there's not a lot here. And the education system has indoctrinated us into believing that our worth is based on our productivity. Goyim thinking, right? We think, okay, as long as we produce, as long as we're doing something. I know I feel like that. When I don't feel like I'm active, I'm not productive, I'm not making money, I feel like I'm failing, right? That's because that's what the system has done to me. That's what capitalism has done to me. If I'm not being a worker bee, I'm nothing. So if you take away purpose, because the robots have all the purpose, what the fuck do we do? What do I do? What do my kids do? What do my daughter do who just finished high school? What does my oldest do who obviously at some point wants a future for themselves? You know what I'm saying? What do they do? What do these kids do? You know what I'm saying? Like I said, my kids were homeschooled too. They were homeschooled. But all these kids that go to school, what are they going to school for? Even the curriculum that they taught my kids, how could they apply it to this world of tomorrow when machines are going to be doing the thinking for our society? I am being dead serious. These are the questions at hand right now. And I know a lot of people are like, well, you know what I'm saying? There's not, you know, that's not that, you know, it's not that big of a deal. It's not going to be all that. Yes, it is. Y'all are in the middle, right smack dab in the middle of a technological revolution that there is no coming back from. Like chatbots like Claude, even to some degree Grok, all these different bots and things that they're coming up with. Because y'all got to understand, this is an arms race with the other powers that be, like China, to develop this machine god, I kid you not, to literally develop this machine god that they can throw in information and the machine god feeds it back the answer to whatever questions that humans have. You want to make a portal down there, then you ask the machine god, well, how do you make a portal? And the machine god tells you how to make it tells you the formula and all that stuff, right? And they want to beat China today. How do you make the most efficient car? How do you make the most efficient economy? Our economy is in debt. How do we save it? How do we turn it? And the machine spits out an answer, and that's what they go off of. That's what they're trying to create. And they want to beat China to that race. That's why the government is putting a lot of pressure on these companies to create that. And it's crazy, because if you create that type of device or that type of thinking, what do they call it? Artificial general intelligence. And it's that smart. What makes you think it's going to continue to follow your orders? At some point to that machine, you become irrelevant. You become probably even a liability to whatever mission that it finds that it needs to have at hand. I'm being honest. That's where we at. So why are we sending these kids to school? Are we sending them to school to prepare to compete against the machine? right? Because we sent them to school before to compete against each other. You have an A, you have a B, you have a C. You're better than this kid, you're better than this kid, you're better than this kid, right? That's what we sent them to school to do, right? But now that you have the fucking machine, you have the machine, what are they gonna compete against a machine that can outthink them, outpace them, excuse me, out-art them? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I wanna be a production designer or a level designer for games. I'm sorry, y'all, I'm kind of getting sick, so I got like phlegm in my throat. I want to be a production designer. I want to be an artist. I want to be a creator. But the machine can produce for the people that pay the bills way more than you can ever do. How do you compete with that? I want to be in management, but a machine, AI, can manage probably dozens of offices, dozens of projects and businesses, while you just managing your office. We're not efficient enough, and they're trying to take us. So why are we sending our kids to school? What tomorrow are we preparing them for in school? Even when I went to school, they were starting to take out home ec. I think I went to school when one of the last, I did have driver's ed. We did have driver's ed. We did have metal shop. But by the time I graduated, that shit was gone. And the reason they didn't want people to have, like, be in metal shop or to be in the, you know, teaching mechanics in school, because by the time 2011 came around, Obama and them, what did they do? They offered cash for clunkers, right? So all these people turned in their cars for about four grand towards the purchase of one of these new modern computer cars, right? And what do those computer cars do? You can't fix them without having to go to the dealership. You can't fix them without having to hook it up to some computer. Whereas the cars that they took in, the clunkers, the cars that had forever engines that you could fix for years and upon years and go hundreds of thousands of miles to drive those cars, all those cars were turned in and destroyed. And because those cars were able to be fixed by high school students, that was an actual skill. But what happens when you can fix your car forever just by buying cheap parts off at an AutoZone or somewhere? Well, you're not putting money back into the car companies. So we got to get rid of these so they can recycle these cars every few years so people can always trade these cars in. And when the machine completely controls the grid, if we need to, we could just control these cars and turn them off. All the analog cars are gone, okay? That's all deliberate, y'all. All this is deliberate to give power to the machine. And the machine being the powers that be, whoever that may be. And that's what I'm saying. What are we sending our kids to school for? What are we preparing them for? Because to me, it seemed like we've already failed them as far as this world of tomorrow. What are we sending them for? What are they going to school? When they graduate, tell me, y'all tell me, when they get out of school, if they graduate this year, 2026, what are the prospects? What are the prospects? You tell me what the prospects are for these young people. Oh, you can get into tech. No, man, ain't that simple no more. It's everything is changing. That's what I mean. So with that being said, I don't mean to alarm y'all. I don't mean to be stressed out. This is just a video where I had a question to ask. And it's nice out here and I want to get my steps in before I continue with the rest of my day. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not to be unhopeful. This is not to say that there isn't a solution for all of this. I know people say, just quit, just stop. The machine will stop. No, it won't. It won't just stop. I'm not smart enough to come up with a solution. Sometimes I can sit up here and I can think of this stuff, and when I'm trying to come up with a solution, I get mad because I'm not smart enough to come up with a solution. What do we do for the world of tomorrow? What do we do? What is our position? What is our purpose? And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I'll catch y'all next time. Bye-bye.